Hello and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with me, Michael Jex, the tea-drinking author who's run out of tea, but never mind. Today, writing, folks. It occurred to me that possibly a little bit of a chat about my own process for making books, for writing books, for planning books and so on, may not be such a bad idea. There's so many people who have come and looked at my videos on 10 hints about things to do with short stories, for example. I thought it might be worthwhile just going through a few other ideas. So here we go. And if you like this, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe and notification, all that sort of stuff. And if you really enjoy it, you can also buy me a coffee. Sorry, I'm just being molested by a little Bernese mountain dog here who's decided that she wants to get into my lap. But one hand is trying to restrain her. So my actual writing process, what does it involve? Now, it's quite interesting. I went to talk to a friend, Nell Dixon, not that long ago when she had a book launched. And she had a question and answer session for the audience, which was really quite interesting. She was talking about how long it takes her to write a book. Her books tend to be 75 to 80,000 words, and she reckoned it would take her about 6 weeks, because she would write at the rate of about 2,500 words a day. She'd do that 5 days a week. And then, so therefore, at the end of 1 week, she's got 12,500 words. And so for her, she said it took about 6 weeks to write a book. And she was asked, do you plan, do you plot? And she said, no. And I have to admit, I don't either. And I don't know many authors who do plan and plot. There's an awful lot of authors who write down a really detailed synopsis, which is then called the first draft. And that's how I work. I cannot write a synopsis to save my life. I've been asked to write synopses for a number of publishers in the past, and they're quite interesting. How often do they actually end up as explained in the book? Never. I'll not forget one where I was asked to give a cover briefing for a publisher, and it ended up, I was in the middle of writing the book before that book, but they'd just got in a new cover designer and they said, could you give us a cover briefing so that he can get on with it? I said, I haven't even thought about that book yet. And they said, well, yeah, but we've got to keep him occupied. Could you just give us a... So I gave him a cover briefing and I suddenly had this flash of brilliance. And the cover briefing ended up as 3 skulls on top of a granite cross on Dartmoor. I thought it was brilliant. And of course, when it came to writing the actual story, I didn't have the foggiest idea what I'd been thinking of. Could I find the synopsis on my computer? No. Could I find anything to do with it? No. So one thing I do always say as a hint and tip, if you want to be a writer, keep copious notes. Don't just put them on the computer, keep them to hand. In a notebook, I don't know how many notebooks, I've got 3 notebooks just there. One Lockby, a William Hanna and a traveller's notebook. But I've got a damn sight more notebooks there and here and up there. I just have notebooks everywhere because it's the only way I can keep track of things. So what is my process? Do I plan and plot? No, I don't. What I do is I think of some interesting characters. Sometimes I think of an interesting murder. And with that as the start point, I start writing. This is the computer. And it is literally that straightforward. I'll either be here on my computer or I'll have my free write and sitting in my sitting room or sitting in the garden, because the great thing about a free write is it's got a superb e-ink screen that you can read anywhere. And that is the start point. I start off with the characters and I do a certain amount of planning for the characters, but it's a bit irrelevant really, because the characters change with the first bit of dialogue you give them. As soon as you start someone talking, then you realise, oh, I didn't think about what school he went to. Where would that have been? What sort of school would it have been? How long was he at the school? Did he go to university? And all these different aspects just pop into your head as you're writing. With a number of books, I've managed to start out with the murder, and then I've tended to backfill to give some sort of context to the story, working from the murder going backwards as well as going forwards. That doesn't always happen though. Sometimes it's just an initial scene. It doesn't have to be a murder. It can be anything at all that interests me. Sometimes, once I had a scene occur to me while I was sitting in Crediton Church listening to a rendition of Fauré's Requiem, which was wonderful, and it just gave me a particular view of a bunch of ruffians riding down a slope towards a band of pilgrims and attacking them. That was the start point. I have no idea where that idea came from. It was just one of those things. Other times it's been listening to people talking on a train or on a bus. I'm a shameless listener of other people's conversations. I know Agatha Christie was always reckoned to be the boring person at a party who sat in a corner just listening to other people, never really contributed much. And I think that goes for an awful lot of authors. Certainly it goes for me. I am quite gregarious if you buy me some beers or wines, but generally, if it's at a party, a situation with a bunch of people I don't know, I'm not very good at that. I'm much better at being the observer in the corner who's slightly alarming people by just not saying much and listening all the time. So, what is my main hint for getting started writing? Well, the first thing is turn off your phone, turn off the TV, turn off the radio, have some music on if you want, but do not have any other interruptions there. So no social media, no notifications, nothing. Make sure you allocate a certain amount of time every day to write. It may not be necessarily a huge amount of time, but just make sure you've got some time where you know you've got at least an hour to sit down with no TV, no interruptions, and you can shut a door away from the rest of the family and just get on with things. The other interruption, of course, is if you're sitting in a house like mine and people drive up and park in your driveway and then have conversations out there. Sadly, we've got double glazing, so I couldn't hear what they were saying, because otherwise they would have gone in a book just for the cheek of parking in my driveway. But they've gone now, so that doesn't matter. So no interruptions, sit down. Yes, it'll be a blank screen of on the computer or a blank page of paper. If you haven't tried it, my main advice always is try having something like a free-form thinking app, or just draw boxes. A good friend of mine, Bernard Knight, always used to start off with X is dead as a box in the middle of a sheet of paper. Why is X dead? He would list some motivations, then he'd have who could have killed X, and he'd have different characters all around. And it's just a way of keeping track of things. If you've got it on a sheet of paper in front of you, it just makes life that bit easier. Anyway, this is the first, well, it's not the first actually, it's one of a number of videos I've done on writing, and I'm going to carry on doing them every now and again, once every week, once every 2 weeks. It's a bit busy right now. I have got this coming out in a couple of days' time. Brilliant book, first of my Vintner series. I have just finished book 4 in the Vintner series, which has just gone off to the editor today. This Fields of Glory is available for pre-order now, but it will be fully published, I think, on the 25th, which is very soon. And then, what's next? Then next month there will be Blood on the Sand published, and the month after that there will be Blood of the Innocents. And the month after that, I'm publishing The Piazza Murders. And then all of these things mean that I am currently writing a newsletter, which will be going out to all of those people who want to have a newsletter. If you're interested, I'll put a link down the bottom to my website, and you'll find a contact sheet there, which means that you can add yourself to my newsletter listings. And if you do that, I'll be enormously chuffed and pleased. But if you don't, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you found it interesting. If you have any comments or questions or complaints or arguments, put them down in the complaints file underneath here. It's commonly known as comments. But apart from that, I'll speak to you soon. Thanks a lot for watching and take care.